well.
See, I'm having a little bit of a hard time hearing you. I need to turn you up a little bit.
Is that any better?
No, I'm having a hard time hearing. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you guys, yeah. Are you able to hear us now at all?
I'm not trying one more time now.
Okay, can you hear us now? We can still hear you.
Yeah.
But...
Yeah, I got you loud and clear. How you kids doing over there? Sorry about the delay.
Yeah, no problem.
Pikachu! You can say that.
All right. So you guys are down in Jacksonville. Have you been following Lydia? She's been crazy. I didn't know she was so interested in Canada.
She's all over the place.
We still don't know where she's going to go. See, I'm opening up my calendar right now because my computer is totally locked up. And I know you all sent ahead a list of questions. Are you all going to each come up and ask me the questions individually? Or do you want me to read them off the list?
You can just read them off the list if you have them there. That'd be fine. Because
Okay, well, I'm trying. Let me try to. Let's see. I can get it on my phone. My computer. The reason we're late is I think I've just put one too many things on it.
No problem. Yeah, we had been looking mostly at the sharks off southern Africa. We've done a little bit with some of the North American, but we've been focusing primarily on those down there. So.
Okay. All right. Well, I got the questions up here. First, I want to say thanks for having me. How cool is your teach kids for getting us all hooked up on the Skype? Hannah B, which one are you in there, Hannah B? Wave at me. Hi, Hannah. It's a pretty name. How is OCEARCH different from other research organizations? This is a really good question. We are a totally different model. I mean, one of the things that we've tried to do is actually disrupt the old model. What we've been able to do is we've been able to bring fishermen together with scientists and socially responsible companies like Caterpillar and Costa, who you all have down there in the Daytona area. And so we're fully funded by companies rather than getting money from government or institutions. And what that allows us to do is we have no full-time scientists on our staff. But what we do is we go into an area of the world where there are great scientists and they're studying and they need help and they have no money and they have no ship. And we just come into those areas like we did in Cape Cod and we work with the leading scientists in that region. Now, one of the things that we do that's really different is in the past, one scientist would try to grab a hold of an operation like ours and advance their science to get ahead of the others for grants. So what we do is we say, our program is ocean first, shark first. So when we come in, if we're going to help you, you need to invite all the smart men and women from all the different institutions with all the different disciplines that they study so we can maximize what we learn. So what we really do is we'll come in and we will enable those local scientists to explode their science forward. And then we leave that part of the world and then they write their papers based on all the new things they're learning. And then we can go to Africa and help those scientists explode their knowledge forward. And what this does is it allows us to help all these different parts of the world advance their science because we can do the fieldwork part, the tagging part, quicker than they can collect the data and get their papers published. So believe it or not, you guys know how we were in Cape Cod last year and Cape Cod this year, these 2 trips that we had, and then we were in Jacksonville in between? So in 1 year, we did those 3 trips. We have a science team of about just under 20 people. It will take them 3 years to collect the data and write their papers and get them published. So during that 3-year period while they're collecting the data, we're helping the South Africans explode their body of knowledge forward. This next year, we're going to Ecuador, Chile, Brazil. And so we are really different in the fact that We're funded, and we just come in and we enable the scientists to go further than ever, but there's one condition the scientists must agree to. They must allow us to share the data with the worlds and the students in real time. It used to be they would hide the data so they could write their paper and get ahead. What we say is, look, we'll help you, but we have to open source the data with all of the students in real time so that you all, just like you're doing right now, you all are a part of the North Atlantic White Shark Project because you're watching it unfold in real time. So we are a totally new model. It's more of a social entrepreneurial model, you know, a private business for public good, rather than the old institutional model, which just doesn't seem to really be getting it done anymore because there's no funding and there's no assets to help the scientists. So I know that's kind of a grown-up answer, but we're a really different model. It's a good question, and I've never had that one. All right, Haley?
And she actually wasn't able to make it today, so she's not here, but.
Oh, not there. Okay. Why do some sharks go so long without pinging on the shark tracker? There's several different things that can happen once we tag a shark. When we tag a shark, number one, some of them just don't fin as much as other ones. You know how people are different, they have different personalities? It's the same with the sharks. Some of them just don't stick their fins out of the water very much. That's one reason they don't ping as much. Second reason is because it seems like there's different parts of their migratory path when they're down foraging, swimming and eating off the bottom. And there's other times when they travel where it seems like they're up on the surface a lot more. You can see when the fish are really migrating, they ping in a lot. When they get to one area and stay there for a while, sometimes you don't hear from them for weeks or months, and then they'll pop up pretty close to where the last ping was, and then they start ping, 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 they start traveling. They clearly use the surface of the ocean a lot more when they're traveling. The third reason, which is our single biggest challenge, is what's called biofouling. You guys live on the ocean, right? You know how if you put anything in the ocean, barnacles want to grow on it, and grass and seaweed grows on it? We have the same challenge. There's constantly things trying to grow on them. So we're working with the latest paint companies for, you know how you put bottom paint on the bottom of the boat so that stuff won't grow on it? We have to put that same thing on the tags. And so we're constantly working with advancing the technology of anti-fouling paints. And then the fourth and probably the worst case is someone caught the fish and killed it. And we have had that happen. So those are the four main reasons why a fish may or may not pinging in. Most of the time, you don't hear from them for a week or months, and then they'll just start pinging in again. Or the other big issue is the biofouling. Those are the two primary challenges we face. All right. Number 3, is it Jackie or JC?
JC, yeah. JC.
And Kaya. Pretty names. What are the main priorities when catching, tagging, and releasing a shark? Well, the number one priority always first is the safety of the people. The second priority is the safety of the shark. And so one of the things we try to do, for example, when we catch the shark, is we try to capture the sharks very fast. And you'll notice that we'll do that. We will catch big sharks like Lydia in 35 minutes. And that's because then they have most of their energy for the release. So you get a good, strong release. What you can't do is play with the shark for a long period of time. So one of the things, we handle each shark individually, and we capture it very quickly. And then when we get it into the cradle, we go into this nurturing mode where you keep the towel over its eyes. You got a hose on either side of its mouth for each gill. And then it's about executing those 12 research projects in 15 minutes to maximize the leap forward in the science. And then, of course, at the end, it's taking your time and letting the shark just kind of ease out of the cradle whenever it's ready. One of the things that's really different, I think, is that some people think about what we do and they're just like, oh, you have to catch a shark. No, it's not just about catching sharks. We have to catch a shark, execute the science, and get a good release on the shark so we get all that data we need to learn about their lives. And so it's a lot more complicated. I make it very difficult on Captain Brett and the team of people who actually capture the sharks because we want to make sure that we see them bite it right next to the ship. We get the hook right in the corner of the mouth. And we could catch a lot more sharks if we just put the hook far away from the boat or on the bottom. But if we did that, we wouldn't be able to control the bite and make sure that we always get that hook in the corner of the mouth. Because if you get a hook in the corner of the mouth of a great white shark and you work reasonably quickly, 99.99% of the time it goes very smoothly. So those are the very important things that we focus on. Because if you get one of those wrong, then that can cause a problem for the shark. So people safety first. Always remember people first, then the shark, then the science. Who's the UK fan in the room?
That's me. That's me.
I'm from Louisville.
Oh,
My
no.
brother's the mayor of Louisville.
I used to like you so much.
Let's see here. Okay. Bella and Landon? On your website, it says you can perform 12 studies in 15 minutes on a mature shark. What type of studies do you conduct? All right. Well, do you guys ever go at OCEARCH.org and look at all the research projects that are there?
Yes. Yeah, they do.
Yeah. So those are the 12 projects right there. I think the one thing though that's really different about what we do, and we can go through the 12 projects. But when I first started this work, we had one scientist who had one project. And I said to him, man, we need to get more smart men and women here because we need to do as many projects as we can while we got the shark right in front of us. And so the thing that we have really changed a lot because we drive this big collaborative effort is using multiple projects interlaced together to get that full comprehensive look of the shark's life. So let's just quickly talk about the tagging. Instead of using one tag, we use 4 different types of tags that gather 4 different types of information. And that is important because it gives you a more robust, a full picture of the shark's life. We're getting ready to make a post about Lydia, which is your all's Jacksonville shark. You guys know Lydia, right?
Yes.
You guys...
Sir, you're frozen. I don't think he has very good connection down there.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, are you still there?
Yeah,
Did I lose
we're
you?
good. Yeah, we're
Wake
back.
up. Wake up.
Can you hear us? We're back.
I got you now. You got me?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So you guys know Lydia, right? The shark Lydia?
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you hear me start talking about the 4 different types of tags? Where did I cut off?
Right after the 4 tags. Right there.
Okay. So one of the things that's really different about what we're doing is we're taking these different types of tags, and they give us, when you take the data and you kind of entwine the data, you get a full picture of the shark's life. So you know how you watch Lydia go up to Newfoundland, and now she's working her way back down in the Atlantic? We just got the PAT tag data. So we have 4 different types of tags. We have the spot tag that you're following on the shark tracker that puts all the little dots on the tracker. There's also a pop-off tag we stick in her, and that tells us how deep she goes and what water she swims in. And it looks like Lydia, when she headed up to Newfoundland, she went down underneath the Gulf Stream. And she swam underneath it at about 800 meters deep, 2,400 feet. So now we're starting to not only get a look at where the sharks go, but are they going there shallow? Are they going there deep? What are they doing when they're deep? And by kind of bringing all these different projects together, you get the full look of the shark's life. So we talked about the tracking. We also do a lot of blood work. Do you guys know why we do the blood work? See, someone's got their hand up back there. The blood work, you know?
You look at the blood work to maybe see if the shark is healthy or if there are like any genetic diseases in them.
Yeah, well, it's part of, we do what's called stress physiology to see if they're healthy. So we measure how much stress they're under during the tagging. And then also we can do all these hormone assays to see if there's any reproductive hormones in their blood, to see if the shark might be pregnant, to see if the shark might be ready to mate. And so the blood work is hugely important, and you can only get that from a live shark. And we've also been able to study the lactate. You guys know how when you exercise, you get lactic acid in your muscles, and then your muscles are sore the next day?
Yes.
The same thing can happen to the shark. So that's called lactic acid. We measure that in the blood to see how much stress the shark is under. We measure the potassium in the blood. And that tells us that the shark is getting through the tagging process smoothly. So the blood work is really important. We also do all the genetics and all of the, checking to see if the sharks of the Atlantic are related to the sharks of Australia or the Pacific or of Africa. And it looks like they all kind of have their own separate genetics, which is interesting. We do an ultrasound on the sharks to see if the shark is pregnant and to see what their insides look like when they're on there. We collect all the parasites off their teeth and tongues and their body, and we send it to the people who study all the little parasites to see if we uncover new types of parasites. We scrape the bacteria off their teeth and tongue. Did you know that most people lose their limbs or die if they have a shark attack from infection afterward? And so because for the first time we can get the bacteria off their teeth and tongue, we're trying to culture that now so we can develop the first shark bite antibiotic and kill the infection real quickly. So there's all sorts of, we measure them. That's about it on the 12 different types. We do this other thing, a muscle biopsy for isotopes, which means you can take a piece of their muscle and you can see what they've been eating over the past several months. You know, you are what you eat. So those are about the 12 different projects. And with those 12 projects that we've now executed in Africa and in Cape Cod and in Jacksonville, we are just exploding the body of knowledge forward because no one's ever been able to collect all those types of samples before. All right, that's a good question. This is for Sarah and Caroline. Do you feel like you've identified potential breeding grounds and nursery areas for white sharks from your research? If so, how does that help further your cause? So we have discovered the breeding sites in one area of the world. So when you look around the world, you see we have white sharks gathering in Guadalupe Island over near San Diego, the Farallon Islands near San Francisco, New Zealand, Australia, South Africa, Cape Cod, right? So we first solved the puzzle of the Guadalupe white shark. We now know where and when they're breeding, which is in Guadalupe, or on Guadalupe Island, around it, in the late fall and early winter. And we know that they're giving birth off of Baja, both on the outside in the Pacific side and up on the inside in the Sea of Cortez. And now we're tracking sharks in Africa and we're tracking the sharks in the Atlantic. It takes about 2 to 3 years after you do your tagging for the sharks to show you where those places are. So you got to get the tags out, then you got to follow them. And usually within 3 years or so, you're able to identify the breeding site in the nurseries. What we do then, as far as helping the cause, we've been able to work with the Mexican government to reduce the pressure in those nursery areas during the birthing season. The white sharks, they breed in the fall. Do any of you all know how long the great white shark gestation period is? How long they carry their baby before they give birth? Any of you all know? 1.5 years, 18 months. So if a shark breeds in the fall, it gives birth 1.5 years later in the springtime. And so that's what we're waiting, like Mary Lee. You guys know who Mary Lee is?
Yeah.
The shark.
So Mary Lee, if she keeps pinging in, and if she's pregnant, she should show us where your nursery is this coming spring, the spring of 2014. So hopefully her tag won't foul, and she'll show us that information. So then what we try to do when we learn those information is we try to get the gill nest out. We try to get the commercial pressure out so that the white sharks can succeed. And what's good about that is everything else in the same area, all the bait, all the small fish also do much better. So that's what we do. And then, I think it's important by allowing everyone to participate in the, like you guys do. Do you all know what shark finning is? You know what's going on with shark fin soup over in China and shark finning?
Oh, yeah.
Right, and so while the whole world can participate in following, you all learn about finning, and you learn we got 200,000 sharks will be killed in today. 200,000 of the 73 million a year. So while everyone is involved in the project and we're talking like this, we can raise awareness about that. And you all know we can't lose our sharks, right? Because the sharks are the lion of the ocean. They are the balance keepers of the ocean. They are the apex predator. So it's important we solve these puzzles and say them, because there's not going to be any fish that's not like sharks. All right, so let's see here. Madeline, as you analyze your data and learn from the results from various expeditions, what's your action plan to improve the well-being of sharks? We just talked about that a little bit. You know, when we identify the breeding and nursery sites, we work to get the commercial, like, gill nets out of those areas. And then also a big part of including everyone in our project